In Texas politics, it is highly likely that the GOP will nominate one of the most corrupt and scandal-ridden politicians in the state's history. Attorney General Ken Paxton, who is currently running for Senate, has received an endorsement from the president, making it likely that he will beat incumbent Senator John Cornyn in the Republican primary tomorrow. Ken Paxton's political career, serving as Attorney General since 2015, has been so scandalous that Tom Tillis, a Republican senator from North Carolina, stated, "To call Ken Paxton ethically challenged is to call Jeffrey Dahmer suffering from an eating disorder." Ethically speaking, Paxton is known for doing things such as delaying his own fraud trial for 9 years, as well as having an extramarital affair, having that person then hired by a donor friend of his so that she could live in Austin, and then hiding the affair through having things such as burner phones and a secret shared Uber account. He was also known for firing his own staff after they reported him to the FBI for unethical behavior, which resulted in a $6.6 million lawsuit that he lost, which resulted in him being the third ever state politician to be impeached, and he was impeached by his own Republican Party. Politically speaking, Paxton has defended gerrymandering. He has also sued 6 cities in Texas for decriminalizing marijuana. He's also sued Harris County for implementing a basic income program. He publicly stated in 2022 that he would defend criminalizing same-sex relationships. He has called gender-affirming care for trans minors a form of child abuse, and he forced a hospital to open a detransition clinic. After the 2020 election, Paxton went all in on election denialism, suing the states of Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, citing voter fraud. Those cases were dismissed a few days later. His office spent at least 22,000 hours looking into voter fraud, finding a total of 16 mismatched addresses out of 17 million total votes. He was present on January 6th giving a speech at the rally that later led to the insurrection, and he was asked by the Texas Open Records law to disclose his work emails and text messages on that day, which he withheld until someone ordered him to disclose them. His claim to fame is fighting human trafficking and prostitution, stating in 2019 that over 300,000 people are victims of human trafficking. He then increased the budget of the human trafficking unit in Texas from $740,000 in 2019 to more than $3 million in 2022. In the years 2020 and 2021, he had a total of 2 convictions after receiving a massive increase in budget. Going back to delaying his own trial, in 2015, Paxton was indicted for securities fraud after he encouraged 2 investors to put money into Servergy Incorporated, a tech startup based out of McKinney, without disclosing that he was receiving free company stock. He was also indicted because he was encouraging people to invest into Mowry Capital Investments, owned by his friend and donor Fritz Mowry, without disclosing to the state that he was receiving a 30% commission. The trial was delayed for 9 years for multiple reasons. For instance, to avoid a conflict of interest, Collin County, where Paxton has considerable political influence, hired 2 special prosecutors to look into the case. Then, a year later, suddenly they stopped being paid, resulting in multiple delays. Then there was a request for a change of venue from Collin County to Harris County. Then there were factors such as Hurricane Harvey and the pandemic. Then, Paxton had 3 different judges removed from presiding over the case, resulting in a 4th judge. Finally, a deal was reached in 2024. Just a few days before the trial was finally supposed to take place, Paxton signed a deal where, in order to avoid admitting guilt, he has to pay $270,000 in restitution to the investors, he has to do 100 hours of community service, and he has to take 15 hours of ethical courses. In 2018, Paxton would publicly confess to cheating on his wife, Angela Paxton, who would later become a Texas senator in 2019. He would then continue the affair through the help of his friend, real estate developer Nate Paul, who would hire her onto his firm so that she could live in Austin, and then they had a secret burner phone with a shared Uber account so the 2 could see each other. They would continue on the affair for several years, and Angela Paxton would later divorce Ken Paxton in 2025. Paxton's relationship with Nate Paul is notoriously corrupt. Not only has he hidden Paxton's affairs, he's also helped renovate his house, as well as provided him accommodations such as living in resort spas. At the same time, Paul has used Paxton to do things such as showing him his own arrest warrant by the FBI, something that was reported to the FBI by Paxton's own staff. In 2020, 8 staff members reported Ken Paxton to the FBI because Paxton was doing things such as showing Nate Paul his own arrest warrant, because Nate Paul was under investigation by the FBI and he was facing multiple bankruptcies. At the same time, Paul had Paxton use his office to draft an opinion on foreclosure during the pandemic because Paul had 13 properties set for foreclosure in August of 2020. Paxton would then fire all 8 of these staff members, and then 4 of them would sue him in court, citing the Texas Whistleblower Act. Paxton would lose this case, being forced to pay $6.6 million in judgment. Then in 2023, Paxton starts requesting millions of dollars in taxpayer funds to help pay this judgment, which results in his impeachment. This is the 3rd ever impeachment of a Texas state official, the last one being in 1975. 20 articles of impeachment are filed, and on May 27, 2023, the Texas House votes to impeach him, voting 121 to 23, 60 Republicans and 61 Democrats voting in favor. The impeachment trial takes place in the Texas Senate, and it's presided by Dan Patrick, the Lieutenant Governor of Texas, despite the fact that he has donated $125,000 to Paxton's campaign. At the same time, Angela Paxton, Ken Paxton's wife, is serving at the state Senate, and she is barred from voting on the trial. However, she is forced to listen to the entire proceedings. The Republican majority Texas Senate votes 16-14, ultimately not enough to reach the 21-vote threshold to impeach Ken Paxton, and he is then reinstated as Attorney General. And here we are. He is now currently running for the Texas Senate in 2026. And mind you, those are just the major things that I brought up. There are so many other things, such as him neglecting or ignoring environmental regulations, making Texas a more hazardous and carcinogenic place to live in. In general, I consider Ken Paxton to be an insult to the people of Texas. He is not the best candidate that they have to put forward, and he is someone who is extremely corrupt and vulnerable to bribery. I don't know why anyone in their right mind would vote for him, and if you look at it objectively, he is not ethical, he is not qualified. He was impeached by his own party for corruption. We have a man here who claims to be a Christian of family values, who has cheated on his wife, who claims that he's fighting human trafficking when he's really not, and that he will fight corruption when he himself is extremely corrupt. I think Hassan Piker said it best when Thomas Massie was primaried out of Kentucky a few days ago, in that the Republican Party is now the party of protecting pedophiles, the party of protecting corruption, and it's very clearly seen with people like Paxton being endorsed over John Cornyn. I don't like John Cornyn, but John Cornyn is less corrupt than Ken Paxton.